Girls Alive PB Challenge, Zoom. We've got Chris from RDA Fitness down at the bottom there.
Hello.
Hi, Chris. And Jill Venables, who is our Chair of Trustees, joined us as well. And Jill's got some questions that people have put through to her, which we're hoping Chris is going to be able to answer and maybe give us some advice, because not all of you will know, but Chris has done a huge amount of competition over the last few years, and particularly a lot of triathlons. So she's across all sorts of different events. So Jill, have you got a question that came through from Sarah, did you say?
Yes, so Sarah asked a question about stretching. So some of us are doing a duathlon where we're doing a short run followed by a longer ride. We're doing a 5k and then a 50k. Yeah. And we're having quite a leisurely transition between the two. Should we stretch after running during the transition before we get off our bikes? That was the question from Sarah.
Not in the actual event and not between the transition. I think if anything, so you're starting with the run. So what I do, if you've got time before, just warm up your muscle. If you've got any niggles or any known areas of tightness, then I would stretch it out pre the event. But otherwise, just go and enjoy it. Take your time, warm up gently. You know, you're in your transition. I don't know if you're changing clothes, but as you're on your bike, just warm up into the bike to get your groove and get your breath. But during an event, you know, you don't need to stretch. But I would suggest, you know, have a little warm up before. But you're going to warm up anyway in the event. But having said that, if you've got a niggle, just stretch it out gently before, and then of course stretch out after a roll. I don't know if anyone has a roller. It's really painful, but if you've got a roller to roll out particularly your ITB and your quads, that's really beneficial to do after an event.
Yeah, they're quite hardcore, those foam rollers, but they are brilliant though, aren't they? Really effective.
But I think it's
not tried one.
I mean, I'm guilty of, you know, if I've got any time I want to be spending it running, cycling or swimming and not stretching enough, but I do now make more time to stretch, but I incorporate more mobility and compound movements and stretches in what I'm doing, and then that assists me so I don't have to do isolated static stretches.
Yeah, that's good advice. And actually, before we just started recording this session, we were talking a little bit about nerves, weren't we? And I think that'd be quite useful for everybody to just talk about that a little bit, because I know I've not done any sort of proper competing, but you know, coming up to an event, I know that I do kind of feel myself building up with the nerves. Am I going to be able to achieve this distance? You know, will I make it? Will I even get myself to the start line? So have you got any advice, Chris, really just on I guess for this week, really, because a lot of people are doing their PB challenge next weekend. So for this coming week,
I think the first thing to say, as we were discussing just before we hit record, is that nerves are absolutely normal and everybody will be feeling nervous. You wouldn't be normal if you weren't. So I think take comfort in that. And I think now in the run up to the event is just take comfort in knowing that you've done the training, have confidence in that, and then approach the events with that confidence, and don't listen, you know, zone out of what other people have and haven't done. This is you know, you've all done this voluntarily, you know, it's not even an official event, so you should be really proud of yourself. You've done it off your own back. So it's feeling good about yourself, feeling proud of yourself for doing that, and having the confidence to get to the finish line. So you need to say, I often find it's helpful to have a little mantra you say to yourself. So when you've got these negative comments or things in your head going on, you just put them away. That's not going to help you. So we were talking about approaching a big hill. You know, hills are tough. You know, we all struggle at different points of a hill, and you've just approach it confidently. Know that you can get up that hill or whatever it is that you might have a concern about. And so get rid of the negative thoughts. And I just think in the next 2 weeks, it's coming into your own zone, being confident that you've done the work to get you here, and just enjoying the run up. Obviously, you should be tapering off. So you want to have kind of peaked in your training, done the distance or as near to the distance, and just kind of slightly enjoy the wind down and into the event.
How many days should people, because I think most people have been training between 4 and 6 weeks, something like that. Some people joined a little bit later. And, you know, should it be a day before, 2 days, 3 days?
I'm going to give one of those really annoying vague questions. Well, it's going to depend on your base fitness, the intensity of the event, and the duration of the event. So I think if you're a complete newbie and haven't been, you know, used to a level of training, you definitely want to give your body time just to rest. And I think the better question to ask yourself is, if I do this, say it's 3 days before, 4 days before, will I be starting my event feeling tired? And you don't want that. You want to start feeling strong, feeling rested, feeling that you've done all you can to get there. So you typically, I would say in a general comment, you want to be tapering off a week before, but you want to have done your hardest event certainly 2 weeks before or 3 weeks before the event. So you kind of peak and then you gradually come down and then you taper into it. So the best thing to say to yourself, I want to start this event feeling strong, and by now you should kind of know what level of exhaustion you feel after your training and scale it back there.
Yeah, that's good advice. I think sorry, Jill.
I had a question about tapering as well, because I kind of feel that it's a bit different for me running than it is on the bike. I feel that I need to taper sooner with running because I'm aware that I can still feel that exhaustion for long when I'm running, whereas I feel like I could put in a ride just a few days before the event.
It's, you know, what I'd say is definitely, I mean, running is harder on your joints and it tends to take more out of you. So I think if that is, if you call it a weakness or you're lesser disciplined, then you ease off that. But there's certainly, you know, I always go out for a really easy spin or a really gentle jog because you just want to keep moving, you know, keep it fresh. You probably want to test out your bike. So maybe just go around the block, make sure your bike's working. And of course, you know, because yours is more an endurance base event, you just want to have your nutrition sorted, what you're going to eat before the day before, the morning before, and during the event, and then of course just think about your recovery after.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's nutrition, isn't it? And that's because
it's the fourth one in triathlon. Certainly, you've already got 3 disciplines, but it's a 4th discipline. It's absolutely, you know, crucial. And I've got a weak tummy, so that's always something that frustratingly, and it's so frustrating because you can plan the best and then it comes to race day or you get a flat tire. And that was the other point I was going to make, is that you are in control of yourself and your training and your output on the day, but you can't control the extremities. You can't control, you know, things that with that. So you've just got to accept that. So if you do get a flat or something goes wrong, then you've got to deal with that.
Yeah, all the weather and things as well. There's no point in us worrying about the weather because, as you say, that's something that we can't control. And as long as you're sort of mentally prepared, okay, it might rain or it might be a bit hotter than normal, and you're going to know that the day before, aren't you, and be able to make some adjustments.
Yeah, and a very recent experience, I did my half Ironman at the weekend, and I have done a couple of open water swims this season without a wetsuit when, okay, it's been 25 degrees.
Yeah.
And I have really poor circulation. I'm basically not built for the cold, but I didn't underestimate, but well, it was certainly colder, and I forget how my body responds to that. So the swim was really, really tough in terms of my body shutting down. And I didn't have a wetsuit, and I got out and my jaw, you know, was so sore from shaking. And it took quite a while into the run before I could feel anything. And something I think, you know, I find it useful to remember in an event is that it's only temporary. Whatever you're experiencing, like the nerves are only temporary, or if you have a bit of a down in the race or whatever. And the other thing is just being comfortable with feeling uncomfortable. So you are going to, you tend to test yourself in an event, don't you? You push, you're testing those limits, pushing yourself, and that tends to be uncomfortable. And I take a lot of comfort in knowing that I'm okay with this, because that's what I want to do to push myself even further. And you're going to be uncomfortable. So I there's just certain things I say to myself, and I think it's a good idea for people to have those tucked away at the back of their head. So if you're ever doubting what you're doing, or those nerves are kicking in, you can take deep breaths, you can have your mantra, and just surround yourself with positive people who you know are in a good zone, and say, you know, if there's somebody that's going to say something that's going to, you know, set you off. I mean, these tend to be bigger events. You just take yourself away. I think the big thing the next few weeks is the Girls Alive, such a lovely community, and everyone's supporting everybody else. So I think that I'd hope that the nerves actually turn into excitement nearer the event. I think now you're in this kind of lull where you've done the training, it's in the lead up to the event. But I think with this, I think the excitement's going to start to build closer to it, and just being really proud of yourselves and knowing how you're going to feel once you finish.
Yeah, that is one thing, isn't it? To sort of, to build your confidence, to visualize yourself completing your challenge, just to maybe think about that and dare to think about what that might feel like, actually just brings about that positive visualization, doesn't it, of you completing your challenge. I found that really helpful in the past.
And depending on, I'd say this is more true for longer distance events that you're doing, is break it up and reward yourself along the way. So Jill, for your event, you probably want to go, yes, I'm 2.5k into the run on, you know, downhill from here, and then after the run you'd be like, yeah, you've done it. So it's breaking it up and rewarding yourself along the way. And I would say just plan to know when you're going to eat on the bike as well. So hopefully, you know, you would have practiced on the nutrition, make sure if it's hot you've got plenty of water, but think through everything before, so that, you know, you're taking away any last minute panics before. So yeah, just be really well prepared.
That's a good point, actually, just to know what you're going to eat, or have a plan what you're going to eat during your event. And when, if it is an endurance event like yours, Jill, it's a longer period of time, you're going to have to eat during that period or during your transition. Obviously not for people who are doing shorter events or whatever, but that's a really good point, to plan ahead. And then if you have to adapt on the day, you can, but at least you've got a plan that you can.
Have the plan, check in with the weather, have a plan for, yes, darling. Okay, you go and ask Daddy, he's just come in, okay, I'll talk to her. So yeah, it's being as prepared as you can, and just really enjoying it. You know, we're so lucky to have, I think, the beauty around us of being able to train where we do, and just having the community that we have. So I think it's just something to really celebrate and accept that you're going to be nervous, you're going to feel uncomfortable at some point, but just think how you're going to feel when you finish it. And hopefully, you know, get your families involved so that you've got something to really celebrate after. And, you know, I think you're all going to meet up after. Sadly, I'm not here on that day, but are you meeting up after?
Yeah, no, we can't, unfortunately, at the moment, just because there's restrictions still. But there may come a point very soon, we hope, waiting for confirmation from Sports England at the moment, where we can potentially meet up in a week or so, just to do medal presentations and so on. So we're really looking forward to that. That'd be really good. That'd be really nice. I'm going to have to go, ladies, because I've got to be at Ride Club in 5 minutes.
Well, you just have to make it faster. Yeah. What a nice night you've got. How lovely.
I know, it's really nice. And we've got a new lady joining us this evening, so I'm really looking forward to meeting her. But that's brilliant, Chris. Thank you. Okay. Jill, I've made you the host, so if you've got any more questions, am I right to leave you to it? Or
yeah, that's absolutely fine.
Yeah. One thing I was just going to say, sorry, briefly, is I know one thing that helped me in the past. You know what you're saying about having a mantra. I just, you know, had something that I had in my mind when I did the marathon, and I actually wrote it on my hand. And anytime during the event when I was struggling a little bit, I just looked down. In fact, I just put the initials of this mantra, and I knew exactly what it meant. So just any little thing like that you can do, I think is good. Right, I'm going to leave you to it, ladies.
Yeah,
Lovely
great ride.
to see you.
Bye, safe, have fun.